Greetings from around the world. My name is Tom and welcome to the Fetish Traveller. This podcast is all about us sitting down with key figureheads of fetish communities around Europe and the rest of the world. We're going to be learning more about their history, what's going on at this current point in time, and what the future could hold. So, sit back with a drink of your choice and enjoy the podcast. We are incredibly proud to have Leathermen Travel support us on this podcast journey. You're planning a future leathery trip? Don't worry, Leathermen Travel have got your back. Visit their website to learn more about leather and fetish events, clubs and weekends happening around the globe. In this very special first episode, we'll be hosting the wonderful Theo and what's going on in Amsterdam. You might know Theo for being Mr. Leather Netherlands 2022, prancing around Darklands in his fabulous leather dress, but always having a killer smile. So, I have the pleasure to welcome my first guest here. He goes by the name none other than Theo. Theo, my darling, how are you doing?
Hello, Tom. Hey, I'm very great. Thank you very much. And how are you doing? How are you doing?
Good, thank you. Are you nervous to be my first guest on this podcast?
Well, I'm always nervous to be somebody's first. So yes, of course, a little bit I am.
You're so naughty, and that's why all of us love you. So for those who don't know, with Theo, Theo's got a really strong reputation in the community around Europe and the rest of the world. And Theo, would you mind kind of telling me a little bit more about you and your kind of role in the community?
Yes, of course. I'm Theo Lelieveld. I'm living in the Den Bosch in the south of the Netherlands. Most people do think that I'm living in Amsterdam because, well, if you say the Netherlands, everybody's saying Amsterdam, but the Netherlands is a little bit bigger. And I'm living in the south, and I really love that. And I have been Mr. Leather Netherlands 2022 already. Now my grandson already is Mr. And I'm working at the biggest railroad company in the Netherlands, the NS, and I'm their train manager. And I've been active in the leather community and the fetish community for quite a few years. And I organize things like the Fetish Social Brabant. I've organized the Mr. Leather Netherlands this year, and I'm on the board of the MSA, the Motorsport Club Amsterdam.
So quite a bit then. It's
I've been busy, and there's so much more I can tell you, but then the podcast will be 1 hour and a half.
Exactly, darling. And through the power of technology, we originally wanted to host this podcast a couple of weeks ago, so the first weekend of November this year, where it was your first time looking after the Mr. Netherlands 2024 competition, but unfortunately we couldn't catch up. And I've missed you so much since we've last met. It's just, you know, at the time of recording it's 2 weeks into the future, but it only feels like last year, darling, doesn't it?
Yes, I know. You're so sweet.
Such a sweet talker, aren't I, dear? Well, Theo,
Yes.
I'm very, very proud that you're coming along, because for me, I myself personally have lots of history with Amsterdam, Netherlands, the club scene there in particular. So I'm really happy that you are going to be my first guest on this podcast. We're going to talk about.
I'm very, very glad that you asked me. And it is nice that we already met a few years ago at the Gay Pride in Amsterdam. I don't know if I was a mister, but we sure didn't know of each other, and we got to know each other, and that was so great that people can meet each other before all the mister stuff, and that's really important, I think.
Yeah, that's true. I remember it was right after COVID. You had the Pride in Amsterdam in August 2022, and that was kind of one of my first international events where you were a mister at the time. So you were running around.
No, if it was 22, I was. Oh yes, I was Mister.
Yeah.
Sorry, yeah.
Oh, Theo,
sorry,
darling,
yeah. Because of COVID years, I really don't know which year we're living.
Yeah. I think that's a good enough excuse. But it was a fantastic
Yes.
opportunity for me to meet you and really get myself involved with the scene and learn a bit more. So with that in mind, let's take a trip down memory lane with all things Amsterdam. And I know with your role in MSR, and you must know a lot about not only the history of the club, but about Amsterdam in general, which whilst you don't live there, I'm sure you know a bit. So tell us maybe as a bit of an icebreaker then, Theo, what you kind of know about the history of Amsterdam with leather, fetish, kind of how it all started.
Well, it started a long time ago, and we had a sort of hotel, bar, something like Argos, and it was in Amsterdam, and I think it was in the Warmoesstraat, but I don't know for sure. And that's where all the men came, of course. They had a dark room, so yeah, everybody is going to be there. But well, Amsterdam, well, lots of clubs have been there, and there have been lots of clubs gone again. And to be honest, at this moment, we only have a few bars left. And when I see it all over the world, the bars are getting closed again. So we have to be careful about that.
Wonderful. It's lovely to hear about all of these bars and how they started. It was very much exactly the same in London in the 60s and the 70s, Tio. And I know that London and MSR, there's always been a very close history with the clubs. In particular, the club started around the same time. So would you be able to now talk me a little bit more about MSR now, so Motorsports Amsterdam, and its importance in the early years?
Yes, of course. Well, it first began as a sex party or something. And to be honest, there was a group of men going to London to the 69 Club. And there were three men, and they were there for introduce people to Amsterdam to come to a big party they had.
Mm.
And whatever happened there, we don't know. But in November the same year, those three guys, and I have to look at it, was Charling, Jan, and Otto.
Okay.
They founded MSA, and from that moment, we had a club. And it was funny because the 69 Club was already 5 years going on, and they had such a good contact that the main person from the club was actually an honor member of MSA
Wow.
in a year or two later. So and the MSA always found that contact with the other clubs in the foreign countries very important. They had, of course, the Club 69 and the Cycle MC in New York. They have really close contact with that. And because of that, so many other countries began to have their clubs. And then, well, the ECMC all
Mm.
started.
Yeah.
But from 1973, we had really big contact with MSC London, because I think
Hmm.
Club 69 Club stopped or something, but you know that a little bit more better than me.
Yeah, I mean, from our perspective in the early 70s in the UK, many other clubs all around the UK began to form these traditional motorcycle clubs similar to MSR. They were all at the time riding motorcycles a lot more than now. But in London in particular, three or so more clubs were forming at the same time. So it was not only 69 Club, but also these new clubs, MSC London and
Yeah.
London Blues. And to your point, we all traveled together, and it amazed me, but I'm not surprised why London and Amsterdam shared such a good relationship at the time, because it was very easy to travel, right? At the time.
Yeah, and we were a little bit of twining clubs, so
Yeah.
we really had a close contact. And it's funny that you say about the motorcycling part, because at first it was a real sex party in the MSA. Then they thought, well, it is a motor club, so there were people coming to the MSA who really wanted to ride a motorcycle. Hey, it's a motor
Mhm.
club. So we had two kinds of people in the same club. We had the A people that were the motorcycle club, and the B peoples, those were the, well, party guys, let's call them that way. And well, that was really great because well, very different people, but they are at the same group. And then, of course, in the early 80s, we all know that the AIDS pandemic came, and then the whole sex part was gone away. Of course, nobody wanted to go to the dark rooms anymore. They did, of course, a big project about safe sex, of course, but you could see that although it was easier to come to the club, people weren't coming to the club because of the whole terrible thing that was happened. Actually, there was about 10, 12 people a year that died from AIDS in that area. So
and that's obviously not only in Amsterdam but the whole of the Netherlands. It's important to remember that the leather community was very, very struck at this time through HIV and AIDS, but that there were plenty more sorry people as well who had their lives broken, for sure.
Yeah, exactly. And well, just before at the end of the 70s, begin 80s, we were about 120 members or something. Well, because of the 80s, a lot of died, and it wasn't going. People wasn't coming to the club anymore. And I think it was about 2010. We had about 50 members, and now we're growing again, thank God. And we're now at about 100 to 110 members at the moment, and we're still growing because we have a lot of people who are interested in becoming a member.
Yeah.
So that's really great.
Fantastic. So Tia, it kind of, for me, I get the message with MSR is that, you know, they started out in 1970. There were many members who rode motorbikes because that was their passion, but you also had plenty of people who enjoyed the sex parties, the BDSM, and all of those aspects. For us with MSC London, many of those guys who like the sex parties, they were basically the pillions, as we say, of motorbikes. They used to ride on the back of the motorcycles, and then you had
Yes.
you had the real masculine men who would just ride the motorbikes, and that's
Yeah.
it was exactly the same. And it was no surprise, to your point, in the 70s and the 80s when we were brother and sister clubs with MSR and MSC London. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And don't forget why we started the motor clubs. It was just to cover up, because at that moment you couldn't be really openly gay, and there were a type of man who wasn't seeing themselves as the venom gay guy. So that's why they wanted to wear leather. Well, and then motor club or leather, well, it speaks for itself. So, but let's not forget where we come from.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I can imagine, even still with the club today, after 53 years, you probably still have many elder members who have still been around, maybe even since the 80s, since even the 70s or so, who can kind of talk to you about these stories, some very positive but some very horrific times as well. I can certainly imagine. I mean, there were so many people a couple of weeks ago who we managed to have these really lovely conversations with about the importance of the history, really, and its importance of the history now in the present day. Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm so glad that you have put that on the agenda to know about our history, because I feel very strong about it. That's why I organized for the Mr. Leather Netherlands selection a pub quiz, not to ask the contestants what they know, but to bring them information. And that's the most important thing. If you do something, you have to learn a little bit from the past, and we have a big past, and yeah, it's really great to look back to understand why we're here now. And
Yeah.
you do a really great job about that.
Oh, stop it, you don't have to say
Oh,
that.
darling.
You don't have to say that, even this is a podcast, dear.
you
Oh,
gave
perfect.
me money for it. No.
Never.
No,
Right.
no.
Perfect. So
Yeah. So, Tio, talk to me about the presence of the leather and the fetish community at Pride events in Amsterdam. What's that like? And do you know how that started?
It was then the MSA had a big party because it was 25 years old. And then Rob, the owner from Rob Amsterdam,
Mhm.
saw that and he thought, hey, let's do a pride, a leather pride in Amsterdam. So next
Uh-huh.
year, it was 1996, he organized the first leather pride. And the funny part is that was also the year that the Amsterdam Pride had this first edition. And both of them are still present at this day. And I'm very proud that I worked with Rain for the Fetish at Pride last summer. And this year I organized, of course, a lot of things for the Fetish Pride Amsterdam, Leather and Fetish Pride here in Amsterdam. So yeah, I'm very proud to be a part of it.
Perfect. So I think that definitely leads very nicely on into talking about where we are now. But even before we talk about the present, Tio, for me, you mentioned that the first kind of Pride in Amsterdam started in 1995. Is that right?
1996, yes.
Six. That for me,
Yeah.
I'm so surprised and shocked to hear that, because for me I had an assumption that Amsterdam had a pride for so many years beforehand. Maybe for me, I don't know why I thought of that, but
No,
yeah, I was surprised.
yes, no, that's the Amsterdam Pride, and the Leather and Fetish Pride was actually at the same year founded.
Mm. Gosh, oh, brilliant. Well, new news, and I'm sure many of our listeners are quite surprised at that one then.
Yeah.
So listen to you, so we've got a good idea of what the history looks like. We've talked a little bit about the bar scene back in the day. We've talked about the importance of the motorsport clubs. And now we're in this space where clearly Amsterdam still has a fantastic reputation for being a big leather, a big fetish hub in Europe. So tell me a little bit more, and we can. It's going to be an opening question now, but tell me what your current thoughts are on the leather and the fetish community here in Amsterdam right now.
Well, to be honest, at this moment, Amsterdam could be bigger because what we have experienced the last years is that I began with the Fetish Social Brabant, and that's in the south of the Netherlands. At the same time, there was a Fetish Social in Nijmegen, that's in the east side of the Netherlands. After that, all kinds of leather and fetish events were coming, but all outside of Amsterdam. And each and every one of them is very popular. Always about 60 to 100 people who comes there. And
Wow,
that's huge.
it's great.
And and then you can see that Amsterdam is a little behind with that. When you see at the bluff meetings, it is popular, but it can be very better. The whole scene was so big in the 80s, 90s,
Mm.
and then it went backwards. And the whole gay scene here in the Netherlands, we were gay capital of the world once, and well, now we are looking at Berlin with envy eyes almost, because they have it now. And I think we can get it back. Because we have a good community right now in Amsterdam and in the Netherlands. And when we joined forces, I had Fetish Socials United last Pride, and it was really great. All the socials from the Netherlands were together in one social, and that was really great. And if we can do that again in the future, and next time with the next year with the Fetish Pride, go even bigger. And well, if everybody wants to come to Amsterdam, let's hope we can bring down the price of the hotels. That's the only problem.
Well, that was going to be maybe one suggestion from my side as to why maybe it's a little bit less popular to go to Amsterdam for these big weekends in general. From our side, as you know, in London, and many cities around the UK now, the prices of hotels are big, and from
Not
what
normal.
yeah, it's absolutely not. And especially if we have a big budget for leather and fetish and rubber and everything in between, really. From our perspective, as we know, in the 70s and in the 80s, a lot of people who traveled just used to stay around people's houses. They used to stay on sofa beds, they slept in each other's beds without thinking even about going to these hotels. So it was a lot cheaper
Yeah,
naturally. And I think a lot of us, when we book weekends, we think, okay, we booked the flights, we booked our ferry or the travel over, we have to now book a hotel. But actually, in reality, decades ago, nobody even thought about hotels, and now we
exactly.
have this problem.
And my problem is, well, next year I'm just going to open my home and just find somebody who rides a bus for us, because
Yeah.
I'm only 1 hour from Amsterdam with the car, but it's for public transportation. You can't go to Amsterdam in the middle of the night.
Mm.
So otherwise, everybody is welcome in my home. I have a few rooms and I have a big living room. Everybody can sleep over there. So
Yeah, and Tio has an Airbnb booking as well that you can view. I'm joking.
I
If
wish I
if
had.
only, if only. I mean,
Yes.
from my perspective with the traveling, it is expensive, and that's why for
Yeah.
Leather Pride, 2 weekends ago, I stayed around Stefan and Dirk's just on the
Yes.
outskirts of the Netherlands because it's a lot cheaper. So I think a lot of cities would definitely agree with what we are talking about now. However, whilst that is a problem, for me, I am also very jealous of Amsterdam because you guys still have lots of bars that are still going around and have a great reputation. So would you mind telling us in the audience a little bit about what the bar scene is like in the Amsterdams and some of the socials that maybe take place there?
Yes, well, we have for the fetish community is the bar The Web, excellent bar, because
Mm.
there we have many socials. You can have a drink there. There is even a playroom upstairs, and it is a bar where you can actually be yourself. And now they're going to be more inclusive, so they're going to be held parties for all genders, and so they're really going with time.
Yeah.
How do you say it in English?
Going with the times.
Yes, I think that's
Yeah.
a nice expression. And then we of course have the Eagle Bar in Amsterdam. Well, that it says for itself. Everybody who knows the Eagle, wherever it is, all a little bit the same. Big playroom also, because yeah, we men like to play. And
Tio, even before you quickly go into another bar, from our side,
yeah,
for us, we do have an Eagle in London. However, it's a completely different story. The Eagle
I
used to
know.
be, yeah, a lot of
I
people
was
do
so
their
looking for
research.
the dark room over there when I was in Manchester, and until somebody said, "Yeah, we don't have a dark room here," and
Mm,
then I thought, "Oh, we're very privileged here in the Netherlands that
yeah.
we have every bar as a dark room or a playroom or a sling somewhere." So
It's a whole different culture in the UK. I think for us, we kind
yes,
of we respect that we do like to play at homes. We have the big parties where we can take part in that. But then I think after COVID, we actually just prefer to go to these social spaces, and that's why I asked you kind of talk me about the bars in Amsterdam and the socials that take place there. For me, I don't even
yes.
think about going
Can I
upstairs
can I
or
can I
along to a
say
dark room. Yeah.
Can I say my mind about the socials? Because I organize one and I really like the socials, but my opinion is we mustn't forget about the sex, because
Mm,
at the last year or two, it's all about socials, all about networking, and I love that, and I really love to talk with everybody. But sometimes sex is a dirty word at this moment, and I tend to think that we have to bring the sex a little bit more into the community again. But
mm.
that's my feeling. That's my opinion. I don't know how you look. What's your opinion about that?
Yeah, I think from my perspective, if from our side in London, we have a good mix of social only spaces because
Yeah.
we have lots of traditional pubs in the UK cities. For example, in Soho, we also have some spaces that are social areas, but then there are also small cruise spaces that you can go and have some fun if you want to. But then we also have the bigger parties that take place once a month or once every 2 months. So we try and have a good mixture of both where we meet the needs of everybody. This is regardless of if you have a sash on or not, basically, because as we know, it's not the best idea to walk into a dark room with one of these sashes. Definitely not the best, but no, for me, I agree with you. And whenever I go to Amsterdam to these bars, not only the Web, not only the Eagle, but a lot of the bars like Spiker Bar, Dirty Dick's as well. They're both fantastic spaces. Club Church as well. They offer these spaces where you can be very you can be yourself from a social perspective, but if you fancy to, as we say in English, get your rocks off, you can go and do that. You're just a stone throw away. It's nothing.
Exactly, and that's the nicest part of it, because I really like both. And at the evening itself, I decide what I fancy at that moment, and depends on who you meet, of course. But I'm just like I said earlier, I'm very privileged that I live in the Netherlands, and I'm come to Amsterdam, and we have all those safe spaces where you can talk to everybody, meet everybody, and have a little bit fun if you want to.
Yeah, absolutely. So, but they're obviously all fantastic, and you do talk about the rise in expenses, the problem with kind of the hotels and everything. Do you see any other challenges or barriers in Amsterdam with the leather and the fetish scene at all?
Well, I think with every club, every environment at this moment, all the things we endure about how are we going to do with all kinds of sexes? What are we? What is our opinion about the transgender issue, if I can call it an issue? I'm sorry if I don't express myself
It's different with
really
everybody.
great. Yeah, but it's about what are you going to do about that? How inclusive are you? What are you going? Which direction are you going with your club? Just like the Web is now more open about that. Everybody's welcome. Men only clubs, I think that's great. There's still men only parties and so, but you have to have something else for the other people who do want a mixed sex party. So that's the things that is going on at this moment also in Amsterdam.
It's scary, because that's actually something that is a big discussion area from the UK leather and the fetish scene as well. And that there are some people who sometimes they don't understand the importance of allowing people to be themselves regardless of who they identify as, and be able to be free in such spaces. And some people, they seem to get a little bit worried that there will be an invasion also of everybody entering a bar or
Exactly.
a club.
Well, because when we allow, take the Web, when we allow also women in a social, I think that's more than okay. I think that I welcome them, because I really love it, and there are so many women also into fetish, and it doesn't mean you have to be gay to have fetish. But okay, let's say you are welcome. How many women will get there? What is the problem? There will be maybe 2 or 3. So, and if there's 5, it's okay. So I don't see really the problem about it, because it's not that there is a big bus with 100 housewives who wants to go live their fetish, and then all the men are going away. No. But yeah, that's my opinion. There is not really a big problem.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
from our perspective, when we were in the Web on Saturday, so the final day at Leather Pride 2 weekends ago, it was perfect. We had a good mix of all fetish socials taking place there, but then also You've got people such as Suzanne, a previous Miss Leather
Yes.
Netherlands, just comes on in absolutely fine. Drag queen Nutella Visage, she comes on in as
Yeah.
well. And we have such a fantastic conversation. The vibes are great, and that's what it's all about. So I think and it's lovely to hear that that's kind of what the current priority could be from Amsterdam, and it's the same all around.
Yeah, but that's also what I had in mind when I organized the Fetish Social Brabant. First, it was the Leather Social Brabant, and then all kinds of groups ask, oh, the beers ask, oh, can we come? Oh, yes, of course. The rubber guys, oh, can we come? So then I thought, let's do it a fetish, so everybody's welcome. But also a lot of women came because there is a sex shop owner where I've worked. She wanted to come. There is a leather shop who is owned by a woman. She come also. So yeah, everybody's welcome, and that gives a very dynamic vibe in a social like that.
So, Theo, my darling, it leads us nicely on to talk a little bit. We've talked about the what's happening in Amsterdam, the bar scene, the best weekends, the Pride events. We've talked a little about the challenges at the moment as well. Let's talk about what your personal view is on what you think the future should really look like for Amsterdam. A question that Dante asked in the interviews actually to everybody is, what is your ideal fetish utopia? And he said that
Yes.
he asked all of the contestants that for the Mr. Leather Netherlands competition. So I'm going to ask you that question as well. What more could some people be doing, for example, in Amsterdam? What do you think is
Yes.
maybe missing?
Well, if you say utopia, and of course you can't say anything else than that. If you are walking in leather, in rubber, or in whatever you like to wear, in the streets of Amsterdam, going around the canals of Amsterdam and going on your bike, and nobody looks weird at you. That would be, of course, the biggest utopia there is, so that you can live your fetish wherever, whenever you want, on what manner you like to. Having said that, it is really great that after the Mr. Leather election, two of the candidates who weren't actually the Mister came to me and said, oh, this triggered so much for me. I really want to be involved in the community. And those are the people I want, because, of course, we have a great Mr. Eric, and he will do a great job in his year. But that's what he is as a Mister. But it's so much more nice to hear people who didn't become the Mister really want to be involved in the community, really want to do stuff they actually wanted to do when they were Mister. But it is so much easier to just throw that away and just go back to your hometown and just do nothing. No, they actually want to do stuff. And if there are a few people like that, I am very, very happy. I also said something about the organizers of all the socials. They all do it without getting something back. Yeah, they get a lot of love back, but no money. It costs a lot of money. It costs a lot of time, and every one of them, I really applause. Really, I if there are a few men like that, the whole community is getting better of that. So
yeah, I think that's really lovely that you've put these key messages into 1 minute or so. I think from what I've learned with the title holder landscape is that people assume that it's just the title holder who does everything. However, in reality, they are, in English we say, a small cog in a big wheel. And
yeah,
there are lots of people who get involved who don't ask for thanks, and sometimes they don't get the recognition that they
exactly.
deserve. Do you agree?
People coming to an event and can talk to somebody who organized it and don't really know who the fuck he is. And And that's also because some people really don't want to get into the foreground. That's why they organize things. Look, we all know me. I'm a drama queen, so I want to be in the front. Then I will let everybody know when I'm organizing something. But so many people don't. And I really love those people because they don't do it for themselves. They're really doing it for the community. And well, you can see who they are when you get to know them. And sometimes I just want to point out to somebody, that's the one you have to thank.
Yeah, but it does, from my side, Amsterdam is basically my second home, for those who don't know, for all things leather and fetish. For me, I know a lot of the organizers who are behind the scenes, but Theo, do you think that in London we see a lot of new groups and events and non-for-profit organizers who have come on in and really helped out after COVID? Do you see that as something similar, when the doors opened and everybody could get along with their life? Did you see more organizers coming on in to help out?
Yes, but everybody was also eager to go out again after COVID. Everybody was locked in their rooms, literally.
Yeah.
And now, you can see everybody going out, and just what I said, we began all the socials in the Netherlands. Never have been so much organized a month for the fetish scene here in the Netherlands, and I can see it everywhere. I can also see it in the UK, but I can also see it in Germany.
Yeah.
So many things that happen every weekend. You can go somewhere in a little country like the Netherlands. That is huge. That hasn't been done for so long. I think it was very busy at around the 70s. And then, of course, at the 80s, it went hill down, of course. And then you got a little bit of living about in the 90s. And then after the century, how do you say it? After 2000, it was a little bit, well, not dying, but it was sleeping. Let's put it that way. And now it's alive and kicking. And I think COVID has done a lot for that. There is not a single good word about COVID except for that people got to know themselves. They had the time to look inside themselves. What do I like? What can I do with my life? What can I do with my kinks? And then they could go out, and then they saw, hey, there are so many more people with the same kink, so many people with the same fetish. And I think that caused a really how do you say it,
a bit of a resurgence almost.
yes.
Right? Yeah.
And I can see that everywhere. It's not only in the Netherlands. It's what I said also with you. It's in America. It's everywhere.
It's absolutely fantastic to see, and I think that's what attracted me to the Netherlands and Amsterdam in particular, thinking of these events to go to. But Berlin, whilst it's absolutely fantastic and very well known, it was always Amsterdam for me to be brutally honest. But it's great. So Theo, I think that's a really nice conclusion, almost as to the importance of the history of Amsterdam over the 70s and the 80s, all of the ups and the downs also. But to your point, from my side, whilst there are obviously areas to continue on in terms of creating these spaces for all, and possibly even balancing that level of acceptance and tolerability for everybody to feel welcome in these spaces. But we mustn't forget that, in terms of the leather and the fetish and the kink scene, it's never been a better time to find these events to go to really find yourself. So before we please.
Every fetish is now you can live every fetish. There's no fetish weird enough or something, or how do you express that, but weird enough to live. And I think within our community everything is possible. And just live your kink.
Live your kink life, darling. God save the kink, as we say in England, darling. Well, listen, but before we finish, Theo, I just want to say, firstly, a massive thank you for coming alongside. It's been a long day for us, busy at work. But just to quickly plug all things Amsterdam, tell the audience quickly when are the best weekends to come along to Amsterdam in the Fetish calendar.
Yes, of course, Pride Amsterdam. And if you are staying a little bit more than a few days, you have to come a week earlier, because at Monday before the Pride Amsterdam, there is the Pride Zandvoort, Pride at the beach. And if there's a small pride that puts the fetish really in front, it's Pride at the Beach. Because when I was in the very first car as Mr. Leather Netherlands. Next to me was being Miss Leather Netherlands.
Yeah.
Behind me there was Rain, Miss Fetish, Eagle, and Danny, and he wasn't Mr. Bear yet, but everybody knew him as Mr. Bear.
Yeah.
So the fetish is really on front at Fetish at Pride. So really, I think that is the greatest pride in the Netherlands, to be honest.
It was it's life-changing for, if I'm being selfish, not only myself but so many others, that every single time that we can come into Amsterdam is absolutely fantastic. But also nice to hear about some of these more regional prides that always need a bit more love and support.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, Theo, darling, once again, a massive thank you. The audience don't see us on video right now, but you have been fantastic. You have been obedient. You have been absolutely fabulous this whole time. So thank you very much for your time, love. Appreciate it.
Oh, thank you very much. And I'm honored that I'm your first.
Oh,
that's a long time ago that I've said that to somebody. Very long time.
You never know, dear.
But no, that's true. But no, it was really great to do this with you. And thank you very much for this.
Pleasure is all mine.